Hi everyone, I'm Paola Miani, a design strategist and a sustainability innovation consultant. I'm the founder of the Sustainability Transformation Community, and I'm here today with Neil Clark. He's a service design lead and sustainability champion at TPX Impact. Neil, how are you today? And can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Paola. Good to see you. As you said, work for an organisation called TPX Impact, and that's a sort of digital design technology service consultancy. And I've got a bit of a split role there. So I do our internal planet officer, sustainability officer role, as well as more client-facing strategy service design lead role as well. That external-facing role is becoming more and more about the planet, which is great, and I'll come on to that in a bit. But the internal-facing stuff that I do, I've started a couple of years ago as a sort of part-time role, doing our planet strategy essentially. So, what's our impact what's our impact on the planet negatively, and how do we try to address that? So, looking at all of our carbon accountancy and getting a benchmark of all of the carbon emissions that we create as a company, and then trying to reduce that. So thinking about our things like how we get to net zero in line with the Paris Agreement, science-based targets, which is, that is one focus of it. So looking at our impact as an organisation, and then the other two sides of that planet strategy. One is about our employees. So how do we empower our employees and help educate our employees to take collective action and individual action around the climate and ecological emergencies, and then also how we break down barriers for employees. So by that I mean like employee benefits. So for example, we've got the Octopus electric vehicle scheme, which makes leasing an electric vehicle about as cost effective as it possibly can be. So still doesn't necessarily make it affordable for everybody, but it breaks down as many barriers as we can in order for people to have access to an electric vehicle. So that's an example of what we do there. And then on the other side, we look at our industry and our clients and the way that we work with our clients. So whether that be the sort of trade bodies that we're involved with and helping show others like how you can do better carbon reporting and be really open and how we can address the impacts of the digital industry and those kinds of things in terms of our industry, and then in terms of our clients, how do we win more planet-focused projects and with more planet-focused clients, and in addition, when it's not a planet-focused project or a planet-focused client, how do we still put the planet as a stakeholder? And I guess that's what my external-facing role is becoming more and more about now. Is about how do we win more of that work, and even when it isn't necessarily about the planet, how do we still put the planet as a stakeholder? So. Yeah, the two sides of my role are starting to get merged, but that's great. That's a really positive thing. But still also doing more traditional sort of consultancy and transformation and change, that I would have ordinarily been doing. So
that's amazing.
I think that's about me.
I think that's a great example of being a force for good and be a proper sustainability champion in your organization and driving those conversations, driving that transformation from within, right? It's a great inspirational sort of example that you have shared. Thank you, Neil. And going back to the sustainability transformation, what does that mean for you and why you're interested in this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I think interested because the climate and the ecological emergencies are just the most important thing going on in the world today. Like I really, I can't stress that enough. Like I just think it is the crux of everything that we should be aiming towards. Everything that we should be working towards. That from governments to businesses to individuals, like I think that should just be the focus for everyone. So that's why I'm interested in it, and I'm a really firm believer in that. Saying that it's definitely not mine. I've definitely stolen it, but that every job's a climate job now. Every job should be focused on this, and I think the expertise that I've had, my career has been mainly focused in digital and change and transformation. So that's where I feel like I've got the most impact, or I can have the most impact. So rather than doing, which is, I think some people have, a lot of people have had a great opportunity to totally switch their careers. But I think for a vast majority of people, it's about not complete job change necessarily, but changing the focus within their existing job. And that's what I've been really lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to be able to do that. And my TPX Impact have supported me in that, and I've found a great community of other people outside of TPX Impact who are doing a similar thing. So that's why it's important to me, because I think it's just the most important aspect of our lives. In terms of what it is, I guess just being led by the planet, right? Putting the planet as a stakeholder, being led by the fact that the planet has finite resources, and we can't keep consuming at the rate at which we do without consideration for those finite resources. And being led by the fact that planet-focused transformation, I guess, or I would hope it has a bigger impact and a bit bigger sort of ripple effect than directly the transformation that you're doing at that time, if that makes sense. So, doing a piece of sustainability transformation or planet-focused transformation, it will start loads of conversations. It will show others that there's a different way of working. That ripple effect, it will give consumers of products or services or processes or whatever it is, it will show that there's an alternative. So I think it's not just about the particular bit of transformation you're doing, it's about the ripple effect of working out a way and showing others that it is possible to do it.
No, that's there are so many points that I would love to sort of pick up on, but I will pick up on two. So the transformation side of things, you've been through the process of digital transformation, and it's all about mindsets, and it's not just the technical side of things. So I completely agree with you. It's how to transform an organization from within, so the employees know or develop those mindsets that allow them to challenge the status quo, to test and learn, to sort of be comfortable with ambiguity and explore better ways to deliver impact, right? And that awareness of whatever decision you make in every role that you are working on will have an impact, whether you like it or not, whether you're aware of not. And I think what you're doing is developing that culture, that awareness, not only for the projects that you're doing, but also for how the company itself can create policies and practices that develop that culture from within. So it's a great example. Thank you. And let's go to the next question. So I know you've been involved in so many initiatives. You're a part of change across many places. Inside your work, but also outside. So can you tell us a little bit about anything that you feel that could benefit the community? Anything that you have learned or you have done that could worth sharing today?
Yeah, definitely. So as I was saying earlier, I think a lot of my examples will just be wrapped around websites and digital stuff, because that's just where I'm working now, and that's where I've sort of worked previously. So I guess the most pertinent thing is these sustainability guidelines that we're working on, or planet-focused guidelines for websites. So it's a fairly hot topic at the moment. There's organisations like the Green Software Foundation who have got guidelines and lots of amazing resources on how to make software as good for the planet as it can be. I'm not saying it's good for the planet, but the impact of reducing the impact of software as much as possible. There's people like the Green Web Foundation as well, and the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance. So there's loads of these organisations, and they're all doing absolutely brilliant work. What we're doing, I'm part of the BIMA Sustainability Council, so BIMA, which is a sort of trades body for web agencies and advertising agencies within the UK. And we're working on guidelines specifically for websites related to how to design them, how to build them, how to fill them with content, which ensures that they're as low emitting as possible, the websites themselves. So we look at things like the user experience, the design, the types of images and compression of images and all those kinds of things, video and use of video, how content is being used on the website, different fonts, how to develop them, how to host them, the DevOps that sits behind it, all of the technical architecture, etc. And we've got a good list of those things now, and we are hopefully fairly close to releasing that and sort of releasing that into the wild. We've gotten a lot of feedback from people on that, which is great. And I guess we're sort of hoping that gets picked up by the industry and just gets adopted more widely. What we're hoping to do to ensure that as much as possible. So there's a W3C working group about sustainability and about planet impact, so W3C as in the guys who do the accessibility checklist. So they are part of a working group along with loads of other people who are looking at what sustainability guidelines could look like, and that I think will take a long time to come to fruition, because it's a W3C working group, so it's very open. But we're hoping to feed these BEMA guidelines just into that, because if it gets owned by the W3C, then people are going to definitely listen to it way more than if it was a smaller community. So yeah, we're hoping to just open as much as possible and just pass it to W3C as and when is the right time to do that. I think looking at it. Looking at websites from all of those different directions and thinking constantly, how do we put the planet as a stakeholder in there? Every step of the design and build and testing and maintenance stage and phases. I just think that's the way that we should all be working. And a lot of the things, to be honest, there's not many things on that list which are solely about the planet. So a lot of them are already user experience best practice, or SEO best practice, or accessibility best practice, or dev best practice. I think the planet and sustainability is just a really nice wrapper around all of those things. There are a few things which are really planet specific, but a lot of this stuff is just sort of taking a step back and thinking, actually, we should be doing this anyway. We've just lost track of the fact that we should be doing it. I think that's the most pertinent thing. There's a really great. There's actually, I think we've been a little bit beaten to the punch, or beaten to the post that works. There's a really good resource that the HTTP archive folks have just released, their sort of latest almanac about the state of the internet, and they've done a really great section on sustainability and reducing the impact of websites and digital products. So again, maybe I'll share that with you, and you can stick that in the links for people to read. But that is a really great thing that I would encourage people to just go and read and soak in and think about how can I use this in my day-to-day life, because it is these types of guidelines, I think, are starting to take it from something which people think, it would be great to do that, but I don't really know how. Like these types of guidelines and checklists just blow that completely open. All of the ways in which we can do it are now known. They're all documented. They're fairly easy to follow. They're not things which are going to cost. That are going to make the project cost 10 times more than it did. This is all standard stuff anyway. So to have it sort of wrapped up in these checklists, I think is great. So yeah, that's the latest thing that I'm working on that's external facing anyway.
That's a great contribution to the digital design and transformation community, Neil, and we were looking forward to spread the word about that. I think, as you said, people need to understand that this should be the way to do the work, not an afterthought. It's just part of the process, and I think there is a role maybe in universities and organizations that train designers to embed that as by default. This is the process that we do, and not only because it's good for the planet, it's good for the society, for the inclusion, making our online services more accessible, more simple, with lower consumption of data and electricity, will allow people that are in rural areas or have like less sophisticated tools, devices to access to this more in a more user-friendly way. Apart from all the business benefits, right? To be ranking better in SEO, etc., etc. So I think it's a must do, but also there is a journey of sort of evangelizing, or at least communicating what are the business benefits for this. So awesome work, and I'll share the links in the post and also in the YouTube video. And just the last question to wrap up. So how do you think this community could help you?
It's a good question. I guess that I think just for everyone just to continue to be really open about what they're working on, whether it's been successful, whether it's been a failure, what's worked, what hasn't, just to continue to think we're not competing against each other. We're just we're trying to do our bit for the climate and ecological emergencies. And I think if people can just continue to share what they've been working on, and how they've done it in really practical steps and their latest thoughts, it's just for people just to be really just to continue to be vulnerable in that way and just say, this is what we've done, this is what we've worked on. I think that's definitely the biggest thing for me. I looked at the quote that and I'm going to read it because it's to make sure that I don't misquote it. But when Allbirds, the shoe manufacturing brand, have you heard of them before? No. Okay, so they have they've been really disruptive in the sort of shoe and apparel market by saying exactly the emissions of the thing that they're making and like putting it in the labels in the shoes and putting it on the website and saying that every part of the shoe that they make is from sustainably sourced items or recycled items, all of that kind of stuff. Been really open about how these things are constructed. So they recently did a tie-up with Adidas, and their CEO, he said, so when it comes to sustainability, we don't see ourselves competing with one another, but competing for the future. If we don't bring about change quickly, there won't be a future to speak of, which I just thought was like a really great. Yeah, I think that's all the mentality that we need to have. Like, and that's something that we do on the Beam of Sustainability Council. There's a bunch of us who work for companies which are definitely competitors. We're competing for the same contracts, but we just share as much as we can. Like, we don't think about whether that's going to be, whether that's going to be sensitive or, we just think, okay, what's best for the planet here? And I think that's what people really need to get to. And, Allbirds have done some amazing stuff. Like releasing all of they've released all of their calculation methods, so you can download a spreadsheet which tells you exactly how they calculate all of the impacts of all of the things that they sell, and they encourage other organisations to use it. So that kind of openness, I think, is what we all need to do from a community perspective. And I was reading about this yesterday, actually, about the Drawdown project. And they've recently released these guides, sort of going back to that thing I said earlier about every job being a planet job, and they've really embraced that, and they've started to release these guides for different industries and different jobs, so that of how how you can do that. And they cover at the moment finance, legal, marketing, HR, ops, government and policy, and procurement and sales, but there's nothing on there about digital or change or transformation, which I thought was interesting. So maybe that's something that we need to work on as a community as well, to try to get that, trying to get Drawdown project to do some guidelines there, and maybe we can input into that. Something like that I think would be great.
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot to define in the digital space still, and when I was doing my report, I really struggled to find things for digital, and the financial services is mainly digital because that's how we serve, right? More and more it's through digital services, and there are a few industries that will definitely benefit from that. And that report that you mentioned is I look at that as well recently, so I will share that in the community because for whoever is interested in developing sustainability transformation, it's basically how everyone in their own job role can contribute to the sustainability agenda. So yeah, that's a very good comment, Neil. Thank you very much for this introduction, and I hope to see you around the community and get the conversation going.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paola.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.